that when you were going through this rehabilitation, what was your mindset like? And I think it's really important too to tie in here that you recovered and you have since become a triathlete. You've competed, you've won a triathlon. I mean, this is truly incredible.
Yeah. So my philosophy has always been like, find a solution, and engage with whatever the solution might be. And so my mom loves to tell this story. It's kind of a silly story, but I finally become conscious again about 3 weeks after, because they had me in this medically induced coma, a bunch of drugs on board and all this stuff for a couple of weeks, because there was really no point in being conscious yet. I was in such dire straits that it's better just to leave me sort of turned off and heavily sedated. Mm-hmm. The amputation itself occurred a week later after the explosion at Walter Reed, and when I first became conscious in the hospital, they told me, hey, you're an amputee, you're hip level amputation on the right side, and one of my first questions was, how high is the left leg? Because I'd had these horrible dreams while I was unconscious about multiple amputations and about, my genitals being destroyed and all this stuff. Thank God none of that was true. But the truth was that my left leg was basically fine and my genitals were fine. And so I had to check on those items when I first became conscious. Right. But they said, hey, look, you're a hip level amputee, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, well, basically one of the questions I asked was like, what is the optimal position of this hospital bed to promote healing? Like how high should the back, if I've got these controls, how high should I put the controls to put me in an optimal position for healing? And my mom was like, oh, okay, good. He's going to be okay. He's asking questions like, what is the optimal position for healing for an amputee, And so really my philosophy was, okay, I'm done with the Army because screw that, but I'm not done with being who I am. And so I've got to learn how to thrive again. I've got to learn how to get back on my I was going to say back on my feet, back on my foot, right? I have to learn to get back on my foot. And so I've always been one of these people who, like, if I don't have I hate bumper stickers generally, but I like those ones that say, like, expect to self-rescue, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think that philosophy is a really good philosophy. Like the self-rescue philosophy, like you are the master of your own ship. You are the one who's responsible for whatever happens to you or doesn't. Now, that's obviously not fully true, but if you approach life with that point of view, I think you're going to end up in a more, overall, a more healthy situation. And so for me, it was like, okay, well, this happened, God's got a plan for me. I firmly believe in God's plan in my life. And so like, what does that mean? Well, I don't get off the hook about being a husband and a father just because I got mangled. Now I've got to learn to live with being mangled. And so that's where the triathlon stuff you're referring to. I was the world champion in the wheelchair 1 category of the Ironman 70.3 in Clearwater, Florida in November of 2010. And then a week later, actually did Ironman Arizona, full Ironman with the same situation. But the kind of extreme sports that I did for a long time, I still do CrossFit a good bit, but I don't do like crazy extreme stuff anymore. But the extreme sports I was in for a while, I think is largely kind of it's almost like a coping mechanism in a sense, because I think I was trying to convince myself in those years that I wasn't really disabled, because If I can do an Ironman, obviously I'm not really disabled, and it's almost like extreme exercise is a form of self-medication.